Was John the Baptist offended by Jesus? If he walked the earth today, would we be offended by him? Let's examine the real Jesus and being offended at Jesus in Matthew 11. And when John had heard in prison about the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to him, "Are you the coming one, or do we look for another?" After preparing the way for Jesus, John the Baptist doubted. Was Jesus the one? He was different from what John and even the disciples expected. He was a pacifist, not a freedom fighter. Jesus ate and drank with sinners. John was an ascetic under a Nazirite vow who didn't drink alcohol. Like John, Jesus preached repentance and the kingdom, but he also turned the other cheek and healed people. Are we disappointed in Jesus? He didn't encourage many things that our denominations push: tongues, Sabbaths, prayers to Mary, rosaries, nationalism, or a materialistic health-wealth gospel. He condemned abusive authoritarian religious leadership. He preached to the poor about giving and self-sacrifice, and a kingdom not of this world. Are we frustrated by Jesus? John was an activist and revolutionary. Jesus was a healer and teacher. Jesus didn't make John a disciple. John looked for a political Messiah to free the Jews from Rome. Are we disappointed with Jesus, his life of poverty and dying on a cross? Or do we wait patiently for his return? Jesus answered and said to them, "Go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind see, and the lame walk. The lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he who's not offended because of me." Jesus warned of the danger of doubt. It can cause us to be offended. What do we think about when we hear about Jesus? A little baby in a manger? Or someone who heals people and preaches to the poor? Instead of an imaginary Jesus of our wishes, let's get to know the real Jesus and be grateful for who he really is. Is our salvation found in the ways of this world? Jesus used no worldly methods. The blind received sight, the lame walked, lepers were cleansed, the deaf heard, the dead were raised up, and the poor heard the good news. This is what the Messiah looks like. He is the one. Have we created a fake Jesus in our minds? Do vain human traditions picture the truth about Jesus? Denominationalism, politics, and traditions only divide us. Do we build a Jesus that we created because we're disappointed with the simplicity of the real Jesus? The real Jesus unites us. As they departed, Jesus began to say to the multitudes concerning John, "What did you go into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments? Indeed, those who wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it's written, 'Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you.'" A reed shaken by a wind describes preachers who teach what's popular, the latest wind, not timeless truths. The early church rescued December from paganism to rejoice with the angels and shepherds over a birth. But Christmas can still be a pagan festival, merchandising for profit, focusing on gifts, parties, the pressure to spend, and filling our children's heads with lies. There's still a voice of one crying in the wilderness. Let's rescue Christmas from its ever-present paganism. Assuredly I say to you, among those born of women, there's not risen one greater than John the Baptist. But he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. God's kingdom suffered violence when John was murdered. Violent people take over the church with evil motives. The Greek word can also be translated as zeal, and certainly ardent zeal is needed for Christians to enter God's kingdom. Christianity is not the easy path. It's an ongoing spiritual battle against evil. Do we know the real Jesus, or have we been creating a fictitious Jesus? Are we expecting him to create a cushy Disneyland for us now? Or do we look forward to that day when he'll return and take over the governments of this world? Have we put our faith in the real Jesus?